We'll see how many people actually got a reminder this time. There we go. What an interesting case. Kyle Rittenhouse. This is a strange one. Hey, Crystal, how are you? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're at. Hope you're having a good morning or a good Saturday. This case has been on my mind for a while since it started, and the more I look into it, the more frustrated I really get. I'm sure, as you know, if you Google Kyle Rittenhouse, you're going to hear what a horrible person he is and all this crap about him. But, we're going to try to stick to to what the documents say and to what the facts say in this case here. Long time no notification, had to unsub and resub. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. Of course, it's not the first time I've heard that. YouTube plays those weird games. So, unfortunately, it's pretty weird. Yeah, I hope he prevails too. I think he will. I think he's going to. I think he's gonna beat these charges, and right now they're trying to extradite him to Wisconsin. So that's what the whole thing is. The next hearing will be on October 30th. That is the actual extradition hearing. So this article that I've written, and will continue to update here too. I'll be updating anything new about the case. You'll be able to find it if you just go to whatistruth911.wordpress.com. Let's do that while we're here. While I'm still waking up. Press.com. And just click on the first website there. It should be the second article down here. So I will be continually adding new things to this article here as the case unfolds. And this is also going to be a chapter for my next book, New World Odor. So this is actually going to be the last chapter of that book. So I'm very excited for that. That book is pretty much done. Well, at least I'm in the third draft now. So I just finished the Kyle Rittenhouse chapter yesterday, and I just could not stop thinking about just how horrible of a case this is. And when I saw remember Kyle Rittenhouse is 17 years old. So when I saw when I see him sitting in juvenile hall, it's really, really sad. Without bail too. Why not post bail? He's 17 years old. He's not going anywhere. He tried to turn himself in at the crime scene. It's just crazy, but it's really sad to see what they're doing to this young man. So I'm really happy that he's got his lawyers, and I'm happy that John Pierce is the guy who's here on the screen. We're gonna watch a little bit of him too, but I'm really happy that it does look like there is light at the end of this tunnel here. So I will try to keep all the documents related to this case as they come up at the very top here, so you can download all of the relevant documents. They're not easy to find. A lot of websites, a lot of news outlets will post a little clips or post some quotes here, but they won't give you the full PDF to actually download. So I'm going to try to make sure that I do that for anything that I can find. So these were the four that I was able to find: the police department press release, Kyle Rittenhouse bond court document, which for some reason, they were okay with putting his personal information on there. The charges against him, that's the big one, because the charges against him, if you read this PDF, you pretty much see, it's like 5 or 6 pages. You can see, even in the charges against him, it shows that he is innocent. So that's what we're going to look at here today. Hey, Ellie, thanks for joining me here too. Good to see you, and good to everybody. Good to see everybody in the chat here. Crystal says it's 11 a.m. there. Okay. Um, it is. What is it? It's 8 a.m. here. So, um, yeah, it's really early. Are you doing any more podcasts? Oh yeah, always doing podcasts. I'm actually starting a new podcast for my new book. So, probably tomorrow or the next day, I'll release a whole brand new podcast for my next book, The New World Odor. And of course, for the David Crowley case, we have a new podcast on the first of every month. We put out a new podcast, and there's always bonus shows too. So make sure that you're subscribed to either, I think, Anchor or iTunes or Spotify. But sometimes I'll just find some old shows that I think would work well on the podcast format. Or if we go live, sometimes I'll try to make those bonus shows for the podcast. But yes, thank you for that. I appreciate that. The podcast, that's been an interesting journey too. I think I've learned a lot of what not to do with podcasts. So this is all new. But I feel like, especially for a case like this, I mean, if you literally Google Kyle Rittenhouse, you see all the crap, it's just all. I mean, let's do it. Actually, let's just do it for fun, because it's so much fun when you can spell correctly. Kyle Kittenhouse. I kept getting him confused with Chris Kyle because the second to last chapter of my book is talking about Jesse Ventura and Chris Kyle. So hopefully I didn't confuse myself too much on that, but nothing new. Ellie says Derek Chauvin bailed out and U.S. advised to leave the state till court. Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting that they're letting Derek Chauvin, whatever his name is. That guy has some shady stuff with the whole George Floyd thing. And then when I learned in one of the other court documents for one of the other officers, George Floyd was a government informant or maybe a local informant. I thought that was kind of strange too. Sad story. It does seem like he was killed. I don't think there's any doubt in that. But I don't believe it was because of racism. And I don't believe it was, because all cops are bad or because there's a systemic problem with police. I'm just not buying that. I've had too many good cops help me in my own life. So, Spotify. Okay, good. Yeah, I like Spotify. The only thing I don't like about Spotify is they the ads kind of drive me crazy sometimes, but that's okay. With a podcast, it's not as bad. If you're trying to listen to songs, every fourth song there's another ad. It's kind of annoying. Chris says it's insane. He's still a minor essentially, yet they are airing his info so early. Yeah, that was really weird. I don't really understand that. Chauvin. Okay, thanks, Chauvin. Yeah, complete op. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So if you just look up Kyle Rittenhouse, look at everything you're gonna see here. How bad he is, what a horrible person he is. Uh, it's just so crazy. It really is the way that they're treating this kid. So, and they're really downplaying it. You're not hearing that much about it. It's like the more that we learn what the truth is about these cases, the more that the media downplays them. So the first couple days they're really hyped up. He was a murderer. He murdered people. He was out there shooting people randomly. I mean, all this crap, all this ridiculous stuff. Even in the documents, they mentioned the last guy that Kyle Rittenhouse shot. Maybe I'm jumping too far ahead, but they mentioned the last guy that he shot, raised his hands. They don't mention that the guy had a gun out first, and that's why he was shot. But we're gonna go over all of that today. Hey, Butterfly, glad you could join us. Long time no chat. Wonder if you got a notification here too, or if you're one of the many people who don't receive any notifications for this channel anymore. Maybe do what Crystal did. She unsubscribed and then resubscribed, and now the notifications are working. I don't know. I've seen some strange things with the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, even my backup YouTube channel too. But so they're really cracking down. I'm not really concerned about it. It's another reason why I enjoy writing books. There's not too much they can do about that. If people want to get a book or a free PDF, it's not that difficult. But apparently, if you post something onto YouTube that they don't like, or if you create a Facebook group called Kyle Rittenhouse, like I did, and it gets taken down for hate speech. So that's also going into my book, and I'm still deciding whether I want to start another Kyle Rittenhouse YouTube or Facebook page and see what happens there. I tried to appeal to Facebook, and because of the COVID, they're pretty much not doing that. All you can do is leave your feedback. So maybe I'll create another Facebook page, Self Defense Kyle. We'll see. But anyways, still early, still getting warmed up. So Ellie says, yeah, he was on the ground. He was on the ground, and the dude came at him with a pistol. Another guy with the skateboard, self-defense, he tried to turn himself in. I mean, it's all clear. It's all on video too, and that's what this lawyer is pretty much gonna say. He's pretty pissed off here too. But looking at Kyle Rittenhouse, in that jail cell, and that's all that they really want to show us. Just the picture of him sitting there. They want us to be scared. They don't want us to be out there protecting our property, protecting other people's property. There was a whole question, well, why was this guy out beyond curfew? Do you see all the people that were out beyond curfew? They were allowing rioters and protesters to be out there beyond curfew, but they have a problem with somebody who is protecting a business. He can't be out there. It's just stupid. So Trump has had some good statements on that too. So that's a whole nother thing. Hey Pansy, good morning. You get all my notifications? Good. Butterfly looks like she does too. Excellent. Butterfly says they don't talk about David Dorn's killer though. Yeah. There you go. That's another interesting case. So many interesting cases. I mean, this is just one of many, but we're talking about a child here, and I've until I had finalized this chapter yesterday, that's when it really hit me. It's like, wow, this isn't just a case of a guy who was accused of murder and it's really self-defense. This is a child who is doing something that a lot of people would not do, or not brave enough to actually go out there and do, including myself. So that's why they say he's a hero, not because he murdered people or because he killed people, because he saw a problem and he did what he could to try to help that problem, to try to help these businesses. Now, I am still wondering if he was set up too, because I don't understand how he's with people this whole night, and then all of a sudden, all these people, he finds himself by himself. That part still bothers me. The other thing that we learned from the yesterday's hearing, yesterday was October 9th, from the October 9th, 2020 hearing, the other thing that we also learned was that Kyle Rittenhouse has not seen any of the video from that night. He still hasn't seen it. That's pretty crazy. I guess there's some rules about juvenile hall not allowing electronic devices in. So the lawyer on September 25th, during the September 25th hearing for this case, Kyle Rittenhouse's lawyer, John Pierce, had to file some type of a motion to allow some electronic, to allow a laptop into Kyle Rittenhouse's jail cells so that they could go through all of these video and Kyle could actually see it. I just thought that was interesting that he has not seen it up until this date. So I'm going to go ahead and play this first one. I think this is just a few minutes here. 1 minute.
The free Kyle. We have John Pierce, lead attorney for Kyle Rittenhouse, and we have Kyle Rittenhouse, direct from county jail. Guys, what would you like to say to the fans?
I just want to thank every single one of you from the bottom of my heart for the underlining support. It's just amazing. I want to thank all of you for the mail I've been receiving. It's been really helpful. I just want to let you all know that I'm going to be out of here soon, and stay strong, and I hope to see you guys soon.
And I want to say that this is 100% self-defense. If this is not self-defense for Kyle Rittenhouse under these circumstances, then no one can protect themselves, no one can protect their family, and no one can protect their country. This is a watershed moment in American history. A very bright line has been crossed. The right to self-defense is a God-given right, and we are not going to allow a prosecutor in Kenosha, Wisconsin, to take it away from Kyle Rittenhouse. Thank you so much for all the support.
Okay, so that was early on. That was still in August, I believe. I did a whole show I think the day after. I did a whole show kind of going over the video and all that stuff. It's kind of been hidden from the YouTube channel now. You could still find it, I think, if you search for it. The best way is to just watch it here, but it is age restricted, and so they tried to unpublish it, I think, but whatever. It's still up. It's somewhat up, but so what I did as a backup is I made a podcast version. There it is. So that one is there too, but the video is graphic, so I guess I understand why they put an age restriction on that video. But if you'd like to go and see that, you can. Let's see if I can move down here. Yeah, it's pretty sad, Ellie. It's really ridiculous. No equal application of the law. Yeah. The attorneys, I don't know how that worked, if they volunteered their services or if the mom got involved. I don't know much about the mom, too. I think she's an interesting one to look more into as well. But however the attorneys got involved, these are the right people for this job. It looks like they're also going to sue the Joe Biden campaign. That's actually mentioned too. He does mention that somewhat. So I try to collect not only all the documents, but you'll find any videos that are tied to this case. I'm going to try to add them here too. So the publication date was, I published this on August 27th. So but I'll try to keep this at the top of my website, and like I said, any new information about this case, I'm going to add it to this post here. They're age restricting your stuff too. Yeah, I got an age restriction for some music yesterday, and I looked at it, I'm like, why are they age restricting this? There's nothing in this music anyways, that's a whole nother issue. Okay, this was a clear case of self-defense in my opinion. You can watch the video and decide for yourself. The incident happened around 11:45 p.m. on August 25th, 2020 in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Earlier that day, Kyle Rittenhouse was asked why he was in Kenosha. So people are getting hurt, Rittenhouse responded. And our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to help people. If there is somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously. I also have my med kit. So he had the medical kit. I'm just going to make this a little bigger for my blind eyes here. So he had the medical kit and he had the weapon. Nobody had a problem with this guy having a rifle until he was forced to defend himself. At least one violent protester attacked Kyle Rittenhouse while he was protecting this business. I have the business name here somewhere. Apparently by himself, around 11:45 p.m. A registered sex offender named Joseph D. Rosenbaum threw a Molotov cocktail or a brick on fire at Kyle Rittenhouse as he fled from a group of protesters. Earlier that same evening, Rosenbaum was caught on film antagonizing armed defenders of private properties. "Shoot me, NIGGA," Rosenbaum responded. Which is pretty weird. If you look at the guy, he's definitely there to start trouble. He's not a part of any peaceful protests or anything like that. He is definitely there to start trouble. Rosenbaum was clearly the aggressor in this situation, and his criminal record is very disturbing, especially the sodomy of young boys. Disgusting stuff. Nobody's shedding a tear for a person like that being taken off of the streets. Okay, Kyle Rittenhouse was charged with recklessly causing the death of Joseph D. Rosenbaum under circumstances which show utter disregard for human life. That's page 1 on the charges against Kyle Rittenhouse. You can download that at the top of this post here. Recklessly causing the death? There's nothing reckless about this. The guy was chased. Anyways, let's keep moving on. That is simply not true. According to video footage of the incident, Rosenbaum threw an object at Kyle and then chased him through the Car Source parking lot. The business name was Car Source. I need to add that to the top of the post here. But I mean, it's right off of the bat. You can see there's something wrong with the criminal complaint against him. But I just thought that it's like recklessly somebody chases you. Anyways, let me not get too far ahead. This is just, I'm sure many of you already know all this stuff and very frustrated about this whole case too. But reading the mainstream news, they're not talking about any of this part. You know, it's just this crazy guy who loves Trump and wants to go out there and shoot people. It's ridiculous. Okay, here we go. Let's go down here. According to the criminal complaint filed against Kyle Rittenhouse, following the defendant is Rosenbaum, and trailing behind is a male who was later identified as Richard McGinnis, a reporter. The video shows as they cross the parking lot, Rosenbaum appears to throw an object at the defendant. The object does not hit the defendant, and a second video shows, based on where the object landed, that it was a plastic bag. This is in the criminal complaint. A plastic bag on fire? I don't know. I mean, and I wish I could show that video, but again, they'll put an age restriction on this one if I do. But go back and see that and see if you think Rosenbaum was just throwing a plastic bag at Kyle Rittenhouse. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Let's see. Oh, you reported that? Yeah, I hope they went against the Biden campaign too, Ellie. I think they will. I think they will. Butterfly kisses. Didn't they attack him because Kyle took a fire out they started? I heard that too. I don't know. That's not mentioned in the criminal complaint, and obviously we haven't heard from Kyle yet. I'll have to see if that's in the response from the lawyers. It could be in there, but yeah, thanks for bringing that up. The complaint alleges Rosenbaum threw a plastic bag at Kyle. They fail to mention anything in the bag and the fact that the bag was on fire. Rosenbaum was unarmed, chasing an armed man. That's never a good idea. It also gives us a glimpse into the mentality of Rosenbaum at that time. As Rosenbaum chases Kyle Rittenhouse, a loud bang is heard on the video. The complaint continued. Then a man shouts, "Fuck you." Then Rosenbaum appears to continue to approach the defendant and gets in near proximity to the defendant when 4 more loud bangs are heard. This is all from the criminal complaint. Rosenbaum then falls to the ground. They skip over a lot there, but that's okay because we have a witness here. Kyle then circles back and went to check on Rosenbaum. The reporter, Richard McGinnis, then attempted to render aid to Rosenbaum. I can see a typo I need to fix there. Rittenhouse stood there and made a phone call to his friend Dominic Black at 11:46 p.m. "I just killed somebody." Rittenhouse then left the scene as other people began to crowd around Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum's autopsy was conducted by Deputy Medical Examiner Doug Kelly of the Milwaukee Medical Examiner's Office. According to the complaint, Dr. Kelly indicated that Rosenbaum had a gunshot wound to the right groin, which fractured his pelvis, a gunshot wound to the back, which perforated his right lung and liver, a gunshot wound to the left hand, a superficial gunshot wound to the lateral left thigh, and a grazed gunshot wound to the right side of his forehead. It's going to be really important to see how many shots Kyle Rittenhouse fired, because we have had some reports of another car that was firing shots too. So I'll be very curious to see how many shots Kyle Rittenhouse actually fired. That'll be interesting. That part was on page 5. Okay, according to Detective Cypress, he interviewed a witness who was there with Kyle Rittenhouse and Rosenbaum, and McGinnis and Rittenhouse then walked south together. This is all from the criminal complaint. As they did so, according to what McGinnis told Detective Cypress, another male who appeared to be in his 30s joined them and said he was there to protect the defendant. I thought that was another interesting quote too, that there was another guy, who's this other guy in his 30s, that said that he was there to protect Kyle Rittenhouse. And where did he go? What happened to him? Need to learn more about him. Okay, so McGinnis, he is a reporter. This reporter walking with Kyle Rittenhouse and this third unnamed person, and then they moved to the middle of Sheridan Road to the sidewalk, and that is when McGinnis saw a male, Rosenbaum, try to engage the defendant. That's a big point right there. He tried to engage him. So here's proof. Rosenbaum, Rittenhouse wasn't trying to engage anybody. Rosenbaum was clearly trying to engage Kyle Rittenhouse. And then the witness says, as the defendant was walking, Rosenbaum was trying to get closer to him. Then it gets really interesting, though. When Rosenbaum advanced, this defendant did a juke move and started running. So now Kyle Rittenhouse is running from Rosenbaum. Yet somehow he recklessly killed Rosenbaum. But it gets worse, because this is more proof that Kyle was trying to get away from Rosenbaum, and only defended himself when necessary. Why was Kyle Rittenhouse forced to defend himself? Well, remember, Rosenbaum wasn't the only person moving towards Kyle Rittenhouse at that moment. No, there were other people that were moving towards Kyle Rittenhouse, quote unquote, very quickly, according to what Detective Cypress wrote in his police report. McGinnis stated that they were moving towards this defendant, and he also stated that according to where he was, the defendant was trying to evade these individuals. Kyle Rittenhouse is running from not just Rosenbaum, but somebody else. Other people too were coming at him. Okay, Kyle Rittenhouse reached the car in the parking lot and held his gun in a ready low position. This kid really knew what he was doing. Rittenhouse then raised his gun, stepped back, and fired 3 rounds in rapid succession. McGinnis stated that the first round went into the ground, and when the second shot went off, the defendant actually had the gun aimed at Rosenbaum. So he wasn't even aiming the gun for the first shot. Maybe it was like a warning shot. I don't know. So here we have evidence the first shot fired by Kyle Rittenhouse was not aimed towards Rosenbaum. It was a warning shot. That's a guess on my part, but that's what it sounds like. And again, hopefully once we hear from Kyle Rittenhouse, he'll be able to explain everything that really happened. Rosenbaum was described as the unarmed guy in this complaint by the reporter McGinnis. The reporter also says no words were exchanged between Rittenhouse and Rosenbaum. However, Rosenbaum was trying to get the defendant's gun with both of his hands, and that's on page 4. So you can read that on page 4. Rosenbaum was trying to get the defendant's gun. Probably not going to find that in any of the mainstream news articles either. but there it is. It's clear. It's in the criminal complaint, which is very, very weird. Yeah, off camera. A lot of things happen off camera, right? From what we're seeing here. Okay, according to the complaint, Rosenbaum grabbed the barrel of Kyle Rittenhouse's gun. Bad move. Rosenbaum definitely made a motion that he was trying to grab the barrel of the gun. The reporter also stated that the defendant pulled it away. Kyle Rittenhouse pulled the gun away after Rosenbaum had grabbed it, was trying to grab it, and Kyle Rittenhouse raised it. Okay, then right as they came together, the defendant fired. When Rosenbaum was shot, he had leaned in towards Kyle Rittenhouse. Did he want to get shot? This guy's just crazy. But somehow, Kyle Rittenhouse recklessly shoots this guy and kills this guy? Recklessly? Murder? That doesn't seem like murder. If you grab somebody's gun, pull it into yourself, and he shoots, that's murder? I don't think so. And I'm sure you don't either. At least he says, Kyle seems like he's trained somewhat. Warning shot, if able, is the way to go. Yeah, I mean, I think he had, I think you're totally right on that. Because I think a lot of us would not have been so strong as to not fire more shots. I mean, if somebody's grabbing your gun, you don't really have much choice. We're going to see that here a couple times. Rosenbaum is not the only guy that grabbed Kyle Rittenhouse's gun. Kyle Rittenhouse ran northbound on Sheridan Road. I need to get a map here so I can kind of get a better visual here. I think there's been some good maps online about this. I'll have to find one, see if I can add it here. But Kyle Rittenhouse ran northbound on Sheridan Road with a group of people running behind him. That's also very important. He's still being chased. Chasing a guy with a gun. Felons are chasing a guy with a gun. Now, I'm not going to say that they're chasing a kid because they don't know how old Kyle Rittenhouse is. I didn't know. You know, if I saw him, I probably wouldn't think that he was under the age of 18. But mostly because of the way that he carries himself. He doesn't carry himself like one of these juvenile thugs out there. He carries himself like a strong human being, which is more reason why I want to learn more about who Kyle Rittenhouse is, what his background is, because we're hearing a lot of different stuff about that too. Alright, people were heard shouting, beat him up, and hey, he shot him. Someone also yelled, get him, get that dude. Then a male in a light-colored top runs toward the defendant, the complaint continues, and appears to swing at the defendant with his right arm. This swing makes contact with the defendant, knocking his hat off. The defendant continues to run northbound. Now, all of you can see the video. Hopefully it's still up. I'm sure we need to make sure that video is backed up offline. Everybody has access to it. And compare it to the criminal complaint, because a criminal complaint is a watered down version of those videos, which Kyle Rittenhouse has still never seen, as far as we know. Maybe in between September 25th and October 9th, maybe he's seen those videos. I would hope. But the prosecution is trying to rush this case. And John Pierce is like, there is no need to rush. So thank you, John Pierce, for that. That's Kyle Rittenhouse's lawyer. Alright, so where are we at here? The defendant continues to run northbound. What did he do? Another bystander was heard asking. Just shot someone. Get his ass. According to the complaint, this defendant then trips and falls to the ground. He tripped and fell to the ground. That might be true. I'm not sure. We'll have to go back and look at the video. But I thought he was struck and fell to the ground because of that. Maybe he did trip and fall and fell to the ground. As the defendant is on the ground, an unidentified male wearing a dark-colored top and light-colored pants jumps at and over this defendant. Now, the people that are writing the criminal complaint they're putting the video evidence in there. They're looking at the video evidence. So they have no excuse for watering down their criminal complaint towards Kyle Rittenhouse. So I can see why Kyle Rittenhouse's lawyer, John Pierce, is saying that this is a uh, political prosecution. Makes sense. Hey, there's DuckDuckGo. Use that instead of Google, by the way. While on the ground, Kyle fired 2 quick shots at that person above him. Neither bullet struck that person. That's also another big point that I was like, wow. I mean, he fires 2 shots. You see the gun. If he wanted to hit somebody, he probably could have. If he wanted to keep firing, he probably could have. But he fires 2 shots. And that person then runs off after kicking him. Probably would have kept kicking him. It probably would have got really, really bad. Part of me does think that this was a setup and they wanted Kyle Rittenhouse dead. And that was going to be a message for all of us truth seekers, for all of us real human beings who actually care about gun rights, who care about owning firearms, and who care about this country, and who don't want to see this country get burned down to the ground by a bunch of idiots. Okay, Kyle was still on the ground when Anthony Huber ran up to him. When Huber reaches this defendant, it appears that he is reaching for the defendant's gun with his left hand as a skateboard makes contact with the defendant's left shoulder. Now, I didn't catch that in the video, but I thought that was very interesting. Here we have a second person reaching for Kyle Rittenhouse's gun. He's got a skateboard. The guy can't be too bright. He's got a skateboard in his hand, and he's going to try to reach for Kyle Rittenhouse's gun. Okay, let me continue here. Oh, good, Ellie. I'm glad. I'm sure a lot of people have thought about some of these things, some of the setup, because the cops are very close by, and they're just standing there, not too far off, letting all this happen, by the way. If there was a curfew in place, why weren't they enforcing this curfew? Why weren't they working on getting those protesters off of the streets? None of this would have happened if that would have happened. All right. Okay. As Huber was trying to pull the gun away from Kyle Rittenhouse, this defendant rolls towards his left side, and as Huber appears to be trying to grab the gun, his gun is pointed at Huber's body. The defendant then fires 1 round, which can be heard on this video. Huber staggers away, taking several steps, then collapses to the ground. Huber subsequently died from this gunshot wound. He fired 1 shot at a guy who hit him, knocked his hat off first with the skateboard, hit him on the ground with the skateboard, or tried to grab Kyle Rittenhouse's gun while Kyle Rittenhouse was on the ground. And Rittenhouse, in response, fires 1 shot. Self-defense. Clearly self-defense. Nothing reckless about any of this. It's just so ridiculous. I mean, come on. Yeah, Kyle did have, I agree, Kyle had many people coming after him. If you're reading this complaint, it just seems like there were maybe, 2 or 3 people. No, there were a group, a mob, and we've seen in other cases, in other videos, what happens when a bunch of people are chasing someone, usually a Trump supporter or something, and he falls to the ground and everybody starts swarming to get their licks in, to get their hits in. This used to happen back in middle school, where you would have 2 guys fighting, or 2 guys who were, acting like they were going to fight. A big crowd surrounds them, and these 2 guys start fighting, and somebody sucker punches someone and takes little pop shots while the person is on the ground. I've seen this. I'm sure you all have too. And it can get very nasty, and it can get very, very violent, very disturbing, very quickly. So the fact that Kyle Rittenhouse didn't fire more shots at this point, to me, is a big, big deal. That's a huge deal, and I think it's very, very clear. Let's keep reading here. Okay, so Hoover subsequently died from the gunshot wound. Deputy Medical Examiner Doug Kelly also conducted the autopsy on Anthony Hoover. According to the complaint, Dr. Kelly indicated that Hoover had a gunshot wound to his chest that perforated his heart, aorta, pulmonary artery, and right lung. That's on page 5. Okay, the truth about this case is clear. The state of Wisconsin criminal complaint filed against Kyle Rittenhouse helped prove the defendant acted in self-defense. Some may not find it relevant to this case, but it's very interesting that the 3 people shot by Kyle Rittenhouse were all felons. Joseph D. Rosenbaum, registered sex offender, sexual conduct with a minor, December 16th, 2002. December 16th, 2002, that's right. 36 years old. Somebody had mentioned, a lot of people had mentioned on social media that this guy should not have even been around children, I guess, and probably shouldn't. I mean, nobody was supposed to be out past this curfew, but I'd be curious to see what brought Rosenbaum, or who brought Rosenbaum out there, and for what purpose. I think that's another interesting thing. Rosenbaum just seemed to have a death wish. He had a death wish, and he had a plan. That's what it sounds like to me, anyways. Yeah, I'm with you, Butterfly, on that one. Okay, Joseph Rosenbaum was a registered sex offender convicted of sexual contact with a minor on December 16, 2002. The court documents associated with the conviction are extremely disturbing, to say the least. And I did not include that here. I think the fact that it is extremely disturbing is enough for me. So I know people can go and find that, but that's all I needed to really know. I read it and I was just like, this is totally disgusting. Okay, Anthony Huber's criminal record included strangulation and suffocation, battery, use of a dangerous weapon, and multiple cases of domestic abuse. You're probably not going to find that in the mainstream articles either, but thank you to all the great people that have helped document this stuff and have made it easy for us to find this information. Really appreciate you all. God bless for that. But yeah, these charges, and this is not a great guy. Again, it's not a great guy. It's always sad when any life is lost. Life is not ours to take. But if you're put into a situation where it's kill or be killed, that's also not a life to take. These guys had no right to try to take Kyle Rittenhouse's life either. And all he did was fire back in self-defense. Each time, we've looked at 2 incidents here. We're going to look at this third one, which is very interesting. Another interesting one there. But as far as this Huber guy goes, yeah, here's another case. And I'm sure you guys have seen the video of Huber's girlfriend and crying and complaining and all that. And then I guess Huber, obviously that's not the person that this Huber guy strangulated, hopefully, or used battery on, or any of that, or suffocation, false imprisonment. Not a very nice guy. What are these guys doing out here? They're not out there because of Jacob Blake. They're not out there because of a systemic problem. These guys have a problem with police because they're criminals. Most criminals do have a problem with police because they busted their ass. And thankfully, they did. Kyle Rittenhouse was still on the ground in a seated position when a male named Gage Grosskreutz also ran up to his position. Grosskreutz first raised his hands when Kyle pointed the firearm at him. Unlike the 2 previously deceased, Gage did not reach for Kyle's gun. However, Gage did reach for a gun of his own. In response, Kyle Rittenhouse shot Gage once in the right arm. Once. Gage was holding on to his gun as he called for a medic. And he was a medic calling for another medic. Then they call for the police, who they're out there protesting against. Oh, the irony. According to Jacob Marshall, a friend of Gage, the kid shot Gage as he drew his weapon, and Gage retreated with his gun in hand. I just talked to Gage too. His only regret was not killing this kid and hesitating to pull the gun before emptying the entire mag into him. Coward. So he calls Kyle Rittenhouse. This guy's not too bright too. This Jacob Marshall guy is another one. Another winner. Um, he calls Kyle Rittenhouse a coward after Gage put his hands up in the air when Kyle Rittenhouse points his gun. Gage is running towards Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse points his gun towards Gage. Gage raises up his hands and kind of backs off. Then Gage goes for his own gun and he's shot. That's a coward. Kyle Rittenhouse is a coward? I don't think so. But this also shows that this Gage guy wanted to kill Kyle Rittenhouse too. We have all indication to show that Kyle Rittenhouse did not want to kill anybody, because based on how many shots he actually fired, if he wanted to kill, he would have fired a lot more shots. One could argue these were all warning shots, even the fatal ones. Definitely in self-defense. Okay. So LOL, hey, thank you for joining us here. Let's see. I'm gonna read just a few of the comments. YouTube. Oh, really? You can't see the YouTube comments. That's interesting, Ellie. Nothing surprising there, I guess, right? LOL Hay says Kyle obviously had a bunch of restraint. He gave them all multiple chances to stop attacking him, but they kept attacking. He could have shot a lot more people that day, but didn't. Amen. I mean, that basically sums it up. Basically sums up some of the whole. I'm gonna stop everything right here. It's all over. But that does basically sum up the whole thing. Ellie says he ran and was being chased, and from what I saw, was on the ground. Thank goodness he had a firearm, or he'd be dead. Another great point. Without that firearm, he would be dead, and he would be blamed for all of this. He would still be the bad guy here. In the mainstream media, because he had a gun, he was there. What was he doing there? What were all these other people doing there? What were the felons doing there? They never talk about that stuff. It's always about what was he doing there. It's such a higher than mighty, whatever you want to call it, These people just have no concept of reality. Or they do, and they're just doing what their handlers are telling them to. It's another reason why I got really turned off at a very young age of going into journalism. My teacher told me, he was a high school teacher, but he also taught at Berkeley. There is no journalism. Journalism it doesn't exist now, and that was back in the 90s, so you can only imagine how much worse it is now. Okay, so this bright-eyed Jacob Marshall gives us some information on Gage, who hopefully this Gage guy will face some prosecution at some point too. We'll see how that goes. So, no, Kyle Rittenhouse is not the coward. It's clear who the cowards are. Okay. Let's see. So this Gage guy wanted to fire multiple shots at the kid. Kyle Rittenhouse fired one shot and stopped Gage from shooting him while on the ground. One shot again. That's training. Okay, this Gage guy, he had several felonies on his criminal report, including theft and movable property, criminal trespass to dwelling, and disorderly contact. Thank God his record was not as bad as the previous two that we just saw, and maybe that's why he's still alive today. God works in mysterious ways, as we all know. Okay. Oh, interesting. LOL Hayes says Gage is the one that called the crowd to attack Kyle, even after Kyle told Gage he was going to get the police. I didn't know that. I saw a video of what looks like Gage actually following Kyle with his gun out, with his gun raised. And of course I would play all that for you, but then YouTube will age restrict this video. But that video is up, and I'm sure you've all seen it. I'm sure you can find it out there. But if you ever get to the point where you can't find it or they start taking them down, you'll find it in this post here at the very top, along with all the documents. So please make sure you download, back up those documents, just in case, because you never know. His arm is tore up. Yeah, his arm is, I mean, you can see that this image is not very good, but this is the best one I could find. You can also see in the background there's somebody just snapping away, taking photos and taking video. I mean, that's how we got some of this video, so I guess I can't be mad at them. Glad somebody was there documenting it. All these people are going to be witnesses in this, in the extradition. Maybe not in the extradition, but if it does go to court, which I cannot imagine it going to court, but if it does, all these people there will all be called, and who knows? You know, if they're felons, if they have an agenda against Kyle too, who knows what they're gonna say? But if you get on the stand and lie, that's a big deal. Okay, let's see. Let's go out here. Let's see. The facts of the case prove Kyle Rittenhouse fired his weapon in self-defense and only when in danger. Twice when someone grabbed his gun, once while being physically assaulted on the ground, and a fourth time when a gun was pointed at him. This defendant turns around facing southbound, the criminal complaint continued, while walking backwards northbound with his firearm in a ready position pointed towards the people in the roadway. So this is where the media takes this one, and they probably just say, oh, yeah, he's walking with a firearm in a ready position pointed towards the people in the roadway. He's going to shoot more people. But the video clearly disproves all of that garbage as well. Or the multiple videos. The videos show Kyle Rittenhouse with his hands up approaching police officers. I don't know if that's mentioned in the criminal complaint. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was. I'll have to go back and check. But I don't think they mentioned that part as well. Rittenhouse attempts to contact the officers, but instead the patrol cars drive past him. That proves Rittenhouse was not fleeing the scene as the court bond claims. So the court bond document associated with this case claimed Kyle Rittenhouse fled the state of Wisconsin with the intent to avoid prosecution. But the video tells a much different story. Thank God we have the video. Okay, so I blocked that out. Didn't think that was really necessary for them to put that in there. But yeah, you can read this document, and it's just like, what? Like, he was trying to flee? No, he was trying to make contact with these cops to let him know what had just happened. And they drive right past him as if something had gone wrong. It's really odd. It's really odd. God bless you, Ellie. Thanks for joining. Come back later if you can. I know it's Saturday. Okay, here's the Antioch Police Department's press release regarding the arrest of Kyle Rittenhouse. So you can read that there. And it's just basically saying they have this guy, first degree intentional homicide. It's just ridiculous. I'm not going to play the press conference briefing. I've played it before, and there's really not that much to it. You would get more from just reading this document. Some of the questions that they're asking too are kind of crazy, but the whole press briefing is pretty much focused on making armed citizens look bad and do not deputize armed citizens. And this idiot, this Beth guy, the Kenosha County Sheriff's Department, I forget what this guy, I don't know if Beth is the sheriff. He might be the sheriff. Anyways, he is basically saying that what happened is a reason why they would not deputize armed citizens. And to me, I see it the complete opposite. This is a reason why you should. Especially if they're going to defund you. If you can't control these rioters, these protesters, and if the protesters know that, they're going to keep coming. But if they know that there are consequences, that they will get killed, that they will get shot in self-defense, if they are violent, if they know that there are consequences, they're not going to show up. All right. Kyle Rittenhouse was arrested by Antioch, Illinois police soon after returning home. Kyle was denied bail at the first hearing on August 26, 2020. The second hearing was scheduled for Friday, August 28th, 2020, to decide if he will be sent to Wisconsin to stand trial. The next day, Kenosha police were able to stop agitators from creating more violence. So they know, the police department knows these agitators are out there, and those are the ones that Kyle Rittenhouse was trying to protect this business from. And this was on August 27, 2020. During the early evening hours of August 26, 2020, Kenosha Police Department received a citizen tip alerting us to several suspicious vehicles with out-of-state plates meeting in a remote parking lot on the State Highway 50 and Green Bay Road. Good thing they got a tip. Acting on this information, Kenosha police officers located the suspicious vehicle and took up surveillance. Kenosha police were assisted by the United States Marshals. The vehicles were a black school bus, bread truck, and tan minivan. Gee, where have we seen this before? All these BLM stuff. They're bussing them in. This is a coordinated attack against us citizens. And here you have this. These police know this. They need our help. They only knew about this because they got a tip from a citizen. This is more reason to deputize a citizen. Anyways, okay, I'm just ranting here. Okay, so Kenosha police, let's see. Okay, the vehicles were a black school bus, bread truck, and tan minivan. Kenosha police confirmed the out-of-state license plates. Police followed the vehicles to a gas station near Washington Road and 30th Avenue. Police observed the occupants of the black bus and bread truck exit and attempt to fill multiple fuel cans. Suspecting that the occupants of these vehicles were preparing for criminal activity related to the civil unrest, the officers attempted to make contact and investigate. The officers exited their vehicles, identified themselves wearing appropriate identification, and then detained the occupants of the bus and the bread truck. The minivan attempted to drive away. However, Kenosha police stopped this vehicle and ultimately forced entry into the minivan and arrested the occupants. Thank God. I need to learn more about whatever happened with these people, too, that were arrested. The vehicle contained various items that included helmets, gas masks, protective vests, illegal fireworks, and suspected controlled substances, drugs. The 9 individuals arrested for disorderly conduct. The 9 individuals were arrested for disorderly conduct and are pending charges. I'm going to read that again. The 9 individuals were arrested for disorderly conduct and are pending charges. Decisions. Oh, I see. It's a typo on their part. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. All right, I'm going to read this without their typo. The 9 individuals were arrested for disorderly conduct and are pending decisions by the Kenosha County District Attorney. On August 28, 2020, the Pierce Bainbridge law firm released a statement in support of their client, Kyle Rittenhouse. The statement explains why Kyle Rittenhouse was wrongfully charged with murder after acting in self-defense in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So this is another great one to read here, and it pretty much just goes through their whole case of why he acted in self-defense. And this does give you a lot of background about this guy, about Kyle Rittenhouse, what led up to this. And it's just so interesting that even with all this, at this point, Kyle Rittenhouse has not seen any of the video about this. But there's a lot of stuff here that really needs to be covered. Let's see. So I think everything kind of mentioned here is just another summary of what we've already covered here. They began chasing him down. Kyle attempted to get away, but he could not do so quickly enough. Upon the sound of a gunshot behind him, Kyle turned and was immediately faced with an attacker lunging toward him and reaching for his rifle. So Kyle Rittenhouse heard a gunshot behind him. Somebody fired a gunshot from behind him. And when he turned around, there was Rosenbaum, reaching for his rifle. He reacted instantaneously and justifiably with his weapon to protect himself, firing and striking the attacker. Kyle stopped to ensure care for the wounded attacker, but faced a growing mob gesturing towards him. He realized he needed to flee for his safety and his survival. Another attacker struck Kyle from behind as he fled down the street. Kyle turned as the mob pressed in on him and fell to the ground. One attacker kicked Kyle on the ground while he was on the ground. Yet another bashed him over the head with the skateboard. Several rioters tried to disarm Kyle. In fear for his life and concerned the crowd would either continue to shoot at him or even use his own weapon against him, Kyle had no choice but to fire multiple rounds towards his immediate attackers, striking two, including one armed attacker. The rest of the mob began to disperse upon hearing additional gunshots. So that's another interesting point there that wasn't mentioned in the criminal complaint, is that when Kyle Rittenhouse is running when he's being chased by Rosenbaum and other people, he hears fire. He hears a gunshot. That's a big point there too. Okay, Kyle got up and continued down the street in the direction of police with his hands in the air. He attempted to contact multiple police officers, but they were more concerned with the wounded attackers. The police did not take Kyle into custody at that time, but instead they indicated he should keep moving. He fully cooperated both then and later that night when he turned himself in to the police in his hometown of Antioch, Illinois. Kyle did nothing wrong. He exercised his God-given constitutional common law and statutory law right to self-defense. However, in a reactionary rush to appease the divisive, destructive forces currently roiling this country, prosecutors in Kenosha did not engage in any meaningful analysis of the facts or any in-depth review of available video footage, some of which shows that a critical state's witnesses was not even at the area where the shots were fired. This was not a serious investigation. Rather, after learning Kyle may have had conservative political viewpoints, they immediately saw him as a convenient target who they could use as a scapegoat to distract from the Jacob Blake shooting and the government's abject failure to ensure basic law and order to citizens. Within 24 to 36 hours, Kyle Rittenhouse was charged with multiple homicide counts. Kyle now has the best legal representation in the country. With help from Nicholas Sandman attorney L. Lynn Wood, Pierce Bainbridge, and multiple top-tier criminal defense lawyers in Wisconsin immediately offered representation to Kyle. Thank God. Thank God. Okay, so then it goes into the legal team was successfully working with the public defender to obtain a several-week continuance of his extradition hearing on September 25th. This at least partially slows down the rush to judgment by a government and media that is determined to assassinate his character and destroy his life. Kyle, his family, the team at Pierce Bainbridge, and his other lawyers intend to fight these charges every step of the way, take the case to trial, and win an acquittal on the grounds of self-defense before a jury of his peers. The legal fees and other costs of Kyle's defense will be provided through donations to #FightBack Foundations, Inc., a Texas 501c3, a 501c4 foundation created by John Pierce and Lynn Wood to protect law-abiding American citizens whose rights are being trampled on by the state and local governments that are more concerned with appeasing mobs than protecting those rights. Pierce Bainbridge founder John Pierce praised Kyle's strength and resilience. A 17-year-old child should not have to take up arms in America to protect life and liberty. This is the job of state and local governments. However, those governments have failed, and law-abiding citizens have no choice but to protect their own communities, as their forefathers did at Lexington and Concord in 1775. Kyle is not a racist or a white supremacist. He is a brave, patriotic, compassionate, law-abiding American who loves his country and his community. He did nothing wrong. He defended himself, which is a fundamental right of all Americans given by God and protected by law. He is now in the crosshairs of institutional forces that are much more powerful than him, but he will stand up to them and fight not only for himself, but for all Americans and their beloved Constitution. He will never leave his side. We will never leave his side until he is victorious in that fight. Further updates will be provided as the investigation and legal proceedings unfold. All right, so there you go. Hashtag fight back. I think the first GoFundMe or whatever it was reached like millions of dollars or something, and then it got taken down, and then I think they started a second one as well. So not too familiar on that, but I do remember reading something about that. I'll have to go back and look that up. LOL says, Hay says, I hope they win this case. It's obviously self-defense. Multiple videos and multiple angles showing that. Agreed. I agree with you. And I do apologize if my voice sounds a little weird here. I'm dealing with a massive toothache, but I just needed to vent some of this stuff and kind of to get this off of my chest, kind of doing some live proofreading here for my book as well. So I do want to thank all of you for joining me and for all of your comments, and we're gonna find out what the truth is here with Kyle, and I do hope that he gets off, and it looks like all signs point to yes. Alright, a few days later, on August 31st, 2020, President Trump held one of his many press briefings at the White House. During the press briefing, President Trump was asked if he was going to condemn a supporter of his who killed 2 people. Another reporter also asked President Trump if he condemned the actions of the vigilantes like Kyle Rittenhouse. Man, those reporters are the worst. I don't know if you can even call them reporters. That was an interesting situation, President Trump responded. You saw the same tape as I saw. And he was trying to get away from them, I guess, it looks like. And he fell. And then they very violently attacked him. And it was something that we're looking at right now, and it's under investigation. But I guess he was in very big trouble. He probably would have been killed. That's right. He probably would have been killed. He's right. Thank you, Jimmy. I'm going to try to barrel through this here, but yes. We'll make do, right? We've been through worse. Then another reporter asked, do you think private citizens should be taking guns? And then it's hard to hear exactly the rest of that quote from that reporter. But Trump answers, I'd like to see law enforcement take care of everything. I think everything should be taken care of by law enforcement. But again, we have to give our cops back, our police back, their dignity, their respect. They're very talented people. They're strong. They're tough. They can do this job, but we've taken it away. We don't want to have, when somebody makes a mistake, he chokes, or in some cases you have bad cops, and we have to take care of that. In other cases, they choke. They have a quarter of a second to make a decision, and sometimes they make the wrong one. If they make the wrong decision, if they make the wrong decision in the other direction, they're probably dead. So they choke sometimes. And that goes on the evening news for weeks. And the thousands and tens of thousands of great things they do, nobody covers that. Nobody writes about that. But if they make a mistake, and again, the bad cops, everybody agrees they have to be very tough on bad cops. But sometimes you have a cop or a police person who is a good police person, right? Good, but they choke. But the timing, and they go through this and they study this and they work on it all the time. They literally have a quarter of a second to make some of these decisions, and they make a wrong decision, and it's very devastating. But I will say this, I honor law enforcement. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for law enforcement. We have to stop this horrible left-wing ideology that seems to be permeating our country, and basically it's weakness. It's weakness on behalf of Democrat politicians. The Republicans, we don't have problems. You take a look at our cities. Our cities are doing very well. They're safe. They're secure. I spent a lot of time in Texas, as you know, a couple days ago, and I was with Governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. He explained they wouldn't put up with it for a minute. They just don't have the kind of problems that other people have. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So yeah, I don't know about the Democrat and Republican thing, but I pretty much agree with almost everything he said there. And it's true. It's like, where are the governors? Why are these law enforcement people standing down? Why are they being told to stand down and to let these protesters burn down businesses, to do all this stuff? It's crazy. It really is crazy. On September 25th, a virtual hearing was held at the 19th Judicial Court in Lake County, Illinois. Kyle Rittenhouse was at the Juvenile Detention Center during the Zoom hearing. We intend to challenge extradition by writ of habeas corpus, defense lawyer John Pierce explained to Lake County Judge Paul Novak. We would ask that the procedures be put in place whereby extradition documents are in fact sent from Wisconsin so we can review them. So they have not reviewed the extradition documents on September 25th. The judge agreed and says, I'll give you 14 days to review this petition and file any pleadings. Proceedings were set to resume on October 9, 2020, at which time Judge Novak would set a date for the extradition hearings. Also, during the September 25th hearing, we learned that Kyle Rittenhouse had not seen video of the incident, as his lawyers were not allowed to bring electronic devices into the jail. To date, Pierce explained to the judge, when we've had a chance to see Mr. Rittenhouse, we've not been permitted to take in any electronic devices. We would ask for an order that we'd be allowed to do that. As you probably know, Pierce continued, there is an immense amount of video evidence, and we really do need to be able to review that along with our client. Take a second here. What specific electronic device are you talking about? Asked Judge Novak. A laptop, Your Honor, Pierce said. We're not going to be recording anything. We need to be able to show him evidence and to talk to him about it. That's all we're looking for. You absolutely have a right to review items with your client, Judge Novak responded. However, we need to make sure what specific rules we're asking to modify or amend. All right, I'm just going to take a second and play this little 8-minute video here. This is of the Zoom call, the Kyle Rittenhouse hearing, September 25th, 2020.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, Your Honor.
All right, we have the first case. Mr. Shell, are you available, sir?
Your Honor, Ms. Lofthouse is going to be handling the case. She's logging in.
Very well. Her. All right. Mr. Pierce.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You're going to be handling the matter this morning, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor, on behalf of detainee Kyle Rittenhouse.
All right, very well. Ms. Lofthouse, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Rittenhouse.
Morning, Your Honor.
All right, very well. Anything to report except for status of extradition hearing today? Anything to report, counsel? Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. Mr. Pierce, you were asking this to be on the record, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Ms. Lofthouse, can you make a record, please?
Yes, Judge. This is a matter of the state of Illinois against Kyle Rittenhouse, case number 20 MR 513. The state of Illinois, represented by Assistant State's Attorney Ruth Lofthouse. This matter comes before you for status. The defendant is present via Zoom, and his defense counsel appears to be present as well via Zoom.
Mr. Pierce, can you identify you and your colleague, please?
Yes, Your Honor. My name is John Pierce of the firm Pierce Bainbridge, and I also have, as Illinois counsel sponsoring me, Mike Baker here with me as well, Your Honor.
Very well. Mr. Rittenhouse is currently at the detention center in juvenile court, and all parties appear via Zoom. Anything to report with regards to status of extradition hearing today?
Well, Your Honor, this is John Pierce. I mean, I can tell you just very succinctly, we intend to challenge extradition by writ of habeas corpus, and so we would ask that the procedures be put in place whereby extradition documents are in fact sent from Wisconsin so we can review them, and then we would ask Your Honor to we'd like to handle this in an orderly process so that we have a chance to review those, have a chance to prepare our petition. Any other briefing, and then set a hearing date on the petition, Your Honor.
Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
So Your Honor is aware, the Governor Pritzker's warrant has been sent to the Sheriff's Office. We confirmed this morning that they have received the warrant, and the Attorney General also confirmed that it was sent. So I just wanted to inform Your Honor of that fact.
Mr. Pierce?
Yes, Your Honor. We have no extradition papers from Wisconsin. We have no extradition papers from Illinois. Obviously, we need to review those, and we are entitled as a matter of law to challenge those by writ of habeas corpus, which we intend to do, and happy to do it on an orderly, set briefing schedule so everybody has a chance to put their positions in.
Very well. Per statute, the defendant will need to be served with that warrant from the governor, and counsel, I'll give you leave to file writ of habeas corpus upon review of that. I will set it for counsel review. Are you available next Thursday morning with regards to, and would that be sufficient time, assuming he's served in the next few days?
So when you say Thursday morning, Your Honor, is that referring to a date to file our initial petition?
Correct. Upon review, you may decide to not to,
Yeah.
file you wish, but
So Your Honor, thank you for that. I can assure you we are going to be filing one, and in fact, these are going to be involving issues of some complexity. Frankly, they've not arisen in the country for some time, and so there's going to be a lot of legal research involved in this. If Your Honor, insists on that, we can make it happen. But we would respectfully ask for some more time. Candidly, I'd like to have 30 days, but we'll take whatever we can get, Your Honor.
state your response.
Your Honor, as you stated, the statute requires the notice to be served. We can be ready for hearing in a reasonable amount of time. So once we receive the motion, but if counsel needs, more than next week, I have no objection to accommodating a reasonable briefing schedule for that.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it for counsel in terms of your schedule. I'll give you 14 days to review the petition and file any pleadings. So 14 days from today would be, according to my calculation, the 9th of October at 9 o'clock in the morning. That'll be for filing of all pleadings and to set a schedule. So with regards to setting, your motion should be filed, or any pleadings be filed by the 8th at 5 p.m. And we'll have court on the 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning to set schedules and to set a specific hearing date.
Okay, that's great, Your Honor. We really appreciate it.
All right. Any other matters for the record?
Your Honor, just one housekeeping matter. To date, when we've had a chance to see Mr. Rittenhouse, we've not been permitted to take in any electronic devices. We would ask for an order that we be allowed to do that, simply because there is, as you probably know, an immense amount of video evidence, etc. And we really do need to be able to review that along with our client. So we would ask that we be able to do that.
So what specific electronic device are you talking about?
Like a laptop, Your Honor. We're not going to be recording anything. We just, we need to be able to show him evidence and to talk to him about it. That's all we're looking for.
Very well. State your position.
Just so I'm clear, they're asking to bring their own laptop into where Mr. Rittenhouse is being held.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be my laptop or our laptop. I mean, we're just looking to be able to have, a laptop so that we can review evidence with our client, to continue to investigate the facts and understand our basis for potential habeas petition.
I have no objection to that, Judge.
All right, very well. What I'm going to do is it's going to be subject to the detention rules. There's no recording. They have specific rules for those. At this time, I don't have a copy of that. I don't have a written motion for this request, counsel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to table this motion. Absolutely having a right to just to review items with your attorney, with your client. However, we need to make sure that what specific rules we're asking to modify or amend. So if you want to follow that up with a written motion, and we'll address that. If you want to set a shorter date with regards to that issue, if you want to address that with your client prior to the filing on October 9th.
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. So of course we'd like to be able to have the chance to do that ahead of filing the petition. So I mean, we can file that today or tomorrow. It should be pretty straightforward.
Absolutely, but specifically which rules you want to amend, I would need to understand which rules you want to amend.
Understood, Your Honor. We'll make that clear.
Very well. And so if there's not an agreed order between the parties, counsel, you can motion the case up. If there's an agreed order, I'd be happy to sign that and allow access pending the agreed order between the parties.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
All right, very well. Anything else for the record?
Nothing else on our end, Your Honor.
Ms. Lofthouse?
No.
All right, thank you. End of record.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, then on October 9th, 2020, another virtual hearing was held to decide the date of the coming extradition hearing. John Pierce, one of the lawyers for Kyle Rittenhouse, made the following request. We request to see what the government's arguments are in writing so we have a chance to reply to them and then to be able to prepare for the actual hearing. So we would ask that a briefing schedule be set so we can flesh all that out. Judge, we can respond within 3 days. Lake County Assistant State's Attorney Stephen Scheller quickly responded. There doesn't need to be a briefing schedule. The law is pretty clear-cut on this. This case has been dragging on now. We're already in October. We can have a response in 3 days. We want a hearing as soon as possible. That quote really stands out, but the lawyer gives a better response than anything I could give here. So Judge Novak then asked Mr. Pierce to respond. Well, Your Honor, Mr. Pierce began, it's no secret that this is a very unique, extraordinary situation. There's a massive amount of video evidence that shows that there is beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is not a legitimate criminal prosecution. It is a political prosecution. There are serious issues with the extradition paperwork that in fact bolster the suggestion that this is a political prosecution. These papers, Pierce continued, were sent directly to the governor without us even getting a chance to look at them in the first instance without any notice. There is no reason to rush. There is danger to this detainee. There is a presidential candidate in the heat of arguably the most heated election perhaps ever, certainly since 1860, that inflamed the situation. We simply ask that the detainee's due process rights be observed so we can challenge this in a proper way and ensure that this is a legitimate criminal prosecution and not something else. Judge Novak then set the next hearing for 9:30 a.m. on October 30th, 2020. Let's take a listen to that from yesterday.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes, good morning. We can. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Pierce, I'm in receipt of the petition for writ of habeas corpus. Mr. Scheller, are you in receipt of that as well?
We received it yesterday, Judge, about 4:45 p.m.
Very well. Mr. Scheller, can we make a record, please?
Sure. This is People of the State of Illinois versus Kyle Rittenhouse. It's 20 MR 513. State is represented by Assistant State's Attorney Stephen Scheller. Kyle Rittenhouse is present. His attorneys John Pierce and Michael Baker are present. May I report for status of extradition, Judge?
Very well. Court is in receipt of the petition for writ of habeas corpus. Before we went on the record, Mr. Scheller, you acknowledge you received it yesterday at approximately 4:45. Is that correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. So we need to set a hearing date on this matter. Anything before we set the hearing date, Mr. Pierce or Mr. Scheller?
Well, Your Honor, this is John Pierce. Of course, we would request to see what the government's arguments are, of course, in writing, so we have a chance to we would like a chance to reply to them, of course, and then to be able to prepare for the actual hearing. So we would ask that a briefing schedule be set, so we can flesh all that out.
Judge, we can respond within 3 days. There doesn't need to be a briefing schedule. The law is pretty clear cut on this. This case has been dragging on now. We're already in October. We can have a response in 3 days, and we want a hearing as soon as possible.
Mr. Pierce, your response?
Well, Your Honor, it's no secret that this is a very unique, extraordinary situation. There's a massive amount of video evidence that shows that there's beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is not a legitimate criminal prosecution. It is a political prosecution. There are serious issues with the extradition paperwork that, in fact, bolster the suggestion that this is a political prosecution. These papers were sent directly to the governor without us even getting a chance to look at them in the first instance, without any notice. There is no reason to rush. There is danger to this detainee. There is a presidential candidate in the heat of arguably the most heated election perhaps ever, certainly since 1860, that has inflamed the situation. And we simply ask that this detainee's due process rights be observed, so we can challenge this in a proper way and ensure that this is a legitimate criminal prosecution and not something else.
Right, very well. Based on the arguments of counsel, I'm going to give you 7 days to respond. October 15th at 5 p.m. Parties to file all written list of witnesses by October 22nd at 5 p.m. The hearing is set for October 30th at 9:30 in the morning in courtroom 810. That hearing will be in person. In addition, not less than 5 days prior to the hearing, parties shall provide the court and all opposing counsel with a complete citation to any case or authority upon which the party intends to rely on, which is not included in any supporting or opposing writing. In addition, the party shall provide the court with a full copy of any decision of a state court outside the state of Illinois. Any cover letter delivered to the court in compliance with the above requirements shall be copied to all counsel of record. Anything else?
Not from our end, Your Honor. We appreciate it.
Mr. Shelley?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, very well. Thank you, Mr. Rittenhouse. Case is concluded. End of record.
All right, and I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up here now. I want to thank you all for staying tuned in, and I really appreciate everybody who is helping Kyle Rittenhouse. However you can, just help people get out. We have people in the chat that are helping me right now, so thank you to LOL, hey, thank you to Ellie always, and to Butterfly, to Crystal, anybody else that I missed in the chat. All of your help with this case, making sure that I can document this as factually, as honestly as possible. I really appreciate everybody's help. There's a few things now that I need to go and research to add to this chapter here. There's a few typos that I found looking at this, just some things like that. So I do appreciate all of your help. This will be the first episode of the podcast, The New World Odor, ODOR. It's not a typo. That one is not a typo. And that will be looking at my book with the same name, New World Odor. So I had decided to make the Kyle Rittenhouse chapter the final chapter of my book. The book covers, obviously, the New World Order, Smedley Butler and the super soldiers, the Federal Reserve, about 200 pages on John F. Kennedy, Jim Garrison, Gulf of Tonkin, covers the Boston bombing, James Holmes, Jesse Ventura versus Chris Kyle, and it also covers what we're looking at here, the Kyle Rittenhouse case. So just a few glimpses into some of the very dangerous things that have happened in our country, the war that we face, the spiritual battle that we face every day, So may God bless you all. I'm just going to leave you here with this last one, this last note here, and still deciding what I'm going to do, because I had created a Facebook page labeled Kyle Rittenhouse, and it was doing pretty good, and I was just posting things so that I could go back and use that for my book, to kind of document all of these things. I like to just research it and post it to this page, and then when I feel like I've done everything that I could for this case, then I go back to the page, look at everything that was there, all of the posts that are there, see if I missed anything. That was really the purpose of creating this Facebook page. And what happened was, about 2 weeks ago, maybe, some weird things started happening on Facebook, and then all of a sudden, the Kyle Rittenhouse page that I created was unpublished. And I tried to fight it, but again, they're not doing that right now. All you can do is leave your feedback, and I couldn't even do that. So now I'm deciding what to do, if I'm going to create another Kyle Rittenhouse Facebook page or just kind of leave it as is. But what was really interesting is I wanted to understand why it was unpublished, and it was due to hate speech. So this page, for some reason, is considered hate speech. I don't know why. So maybe Kyle can use that in his lawsuit against Facebook if he ever decides to file one. But keeping that on record, God bless you all. Really appreciate all of your help here and all of your comments. Until next time, I look forward to it. And God bless you all.